Well, today we have a garden update. I know many of you have been wondering what we've been doing in the garden. This year I've decided to not only do the two gardens from last year, the large and the small, but also a separate raised bed. For this I'm using this Pro Mix growing medium, which is got some peat moss and some other additives in it. I had some extra 2x10s or 2x12s from the hockey rink, and so I've put a couple of those 3.8 cubic feet things in here, some cow manure. And what we're looking at here are 3 of the Pan Y-Star organic squash, and they're a small squash with a little star in them, and I understand them to be pretty prolific, so I'm excited about this. I may wind up spacing this out and putting it down here a little further. And then over here I've got the 3 jack-o'-lantern plants. One you can't see is buried down in here, but I've got 3 jack-o'-lanterns which I think are going to grow. I'm going to train to grow out this way, so I've got room to get in and out of the gate here. So let's take a look at the other side and show you the other garden. Well, sorry for the noise of the air conditioner. Hopefully it's not too loud. Here are some, I believe these are Romas that I have, some extra, nope, these are San Marzanos, very much like a Roma tomato. I have some extras here. And in this garden, which is the one up behind the garage, I have beets that are just starting to come in, and I planted those in a full row here. And then next to that I have striker green beans that are just starting to come up. The temperature over the last few days has been in the mid to upper 80s. It's been very hot in western New York, and the beans love it. So you can see how these have been coming up in the 3 rows and different stages here. Here's some beets that I had started a little earlier, maybe about a week earlier, that are just starting to come up, and I'll be thinning these in a little bit as they get a little bit taller. And we've got one broccoli plant that has survived, overwintered. It's already got some flowers on it. Out of that, I actually thought it was kale at first, but it turns out that it's broccoli. And I was running out of room, so I decided to till up some of this fine soil here and add some 10-10-10. And what we're looking at over here are the winter squash. And if you remember from last year, I've got 3 plants here and 3 plants here. If you remember from last year, the winter squash was prolific and wound up getting 14 of those, which were just huge. So I got 14 of those winter squash, and I'll be training these out further into the yard. So let's go take a look now at the large garden down at the end of the yard. So we're down here at the larger garden, and I'd like to show you my little friend over here. Every time I rototill, he shows up, follows me, and gets pretty close to me. He or she likes to eat all the worms. So you can kind of see he's only about 10 feet away from me, and it seems to be getting closer. Yeah, just a friendly little robin. Likes when I'm in the garden, because usually there's stuff for him to eat. So he comes around an awful lot. So what we have here is a row of beets that I have 2, 4, 6, 8, about 15, 16 of these beets that I've been thinning. That's why they look a little weak. Once our little friend gets done pulling some weeds, or pulling some worms over there, I'm going to show you some seeds that I got from Dale Calder, and I'll have a link to Dale's channel. But Dale's out in New Brunswick, and so Dale, I planted those from seed, and they are coming up, and can't wait to make that soup. It's going to be fantastic. So I'll have Dale's link below. I have a plethora of Roma tomatoes. I've got, I think I last counted about 36 plants, and I've decided to go all Roma, except for two celebrities that I'll use for sandwiches, but the majority of this is all tomatoes, which I make sauce, and I think I've had videos on that as well. Now, what needs to happen here is, you can see there's already a touch of light on that, and I'm going to be going through, sorry for the airplane, I'm going to be going through and picking all of these, and I've found I'll use my knife actually, and I'll cut all of these, and I'll just wind up leaving just the top 2 or 3, and just leave a nice stem. And I have found that that has worked very well in terms of the blight, and has really produced heavy amounts of tomatoes. The next row I have red peppers, and I forgot the name of these, Big Berthas, and they're a sweet bell, and I've got 6 of those plants here in a row. I've decided to do something a little different. Normally I've spaced my rows out the long way, and this year I've decided to go up and down in shorter rows, mostly in case of any heavy rain that we get will wash down and run amongst these rows, and not hopefully wash away my plants. So these are all the tomatoes here, and you can see how I've spaced these out. And we'll head over here to the pickles, and these are going to be trellised. These are my pickling cucumbers, of which I have 6 plants. I'm going to be building a trellis here, and we'll be training these plants up, but they're coming in very well, very strong. It's just been so hot, and that's what these things really like. They've been responding really well to the humidity. And lastly here, I have a row of red onions that I have mulched here, and then I've got a row of Walla Walla, and 2 rows of Spanish, and a row of Walla Walla. And then the far side over there, last year's onions that came up again, so I've transplanted those and expect that those will be ready right around July. So we should be in really good shape. And let's see, what else can I show you? Let's go down and take a look at them. So here are the Hokkaido pumpkins, and I've got it's a weed. I've got 2 plants growing here and 2 here in a big large mound, and my thought is that I'll have this train growing out that way, and by the time these things really take off, the beets that are next to it will have already been harvested before these pumpkins take up too much room. So that is pretty much the update for the garden. I'll have a link to Dale's channel below, and want to thank him for sending me the seeds. It's very kind. Really appreciate that, Dale. And one of the other things I wanted to show you was my returning tree swallow, and they have been here now 5 years running in this box. They seem to go crazy if I don't have this box out, and if I have it in a different location. And if you can see its location, which is close to the garden, I've actually had it in the garden to one side, but they didn't seem to like that. They just flew around in a circle, and I figured, well, they don't like it, so I picked it up and I moved it to where it's always been, and you know, that's where they are. Right now, this is the female, and she's sitting on, I think the last I checked were 4 eggs. I'm about 6 feet away, and she's really very trusting of me. And although she has come out a few times recently, I didn't like me getting too close to her because I know that she's sitting on the nest. But generally, you know, 6 feet away. I've cut the lawn right around her. She'll fly around and wait for me to pass, and then she'll go back in. So she's very trusting of me. And I'll get a shot in a future video when the babies hatch, but I believe there's no four or five in there now. Birds seem to be very trusting of me while I'm in the garden. I think they know that I'm helping them by turning up the soil, and a lot of insects obviously come out, which these tree swallows love as well. So I want to thank you very much for watching.